order from online companies and I get the product and it's nothing as how I expected it to be.
Alan and Chris have come to our pop-up shop to see Martyn James from consumer website Resolver and solicitor Gary Rycroft. They're after some advice about a home care company which has left them without hot water.
Tell us about an issue you've got with your boiler at home.
Yeah, we had a problem where we were covered for our boiler breakdown through a company. We paid for the coverage, had a small little issue with it in November time.
Despite paying a monthly fee that would cover the cost of repairing their boiler should it break down, Alan and Chris were told they would have to pay for the part that was needed to get their boiler back up and running.
They then came back out, installed the part. 3 weeks later, the same issue is occurring.
And this time, because the issue was now classed as an existing fault, Chris and Alan were told that they could have to pay for an engineer to visit. But when the engineer arrived, Alan and Chris say he left them in a far worse position than before, leaving their boiler completely out of action. And getting anyone to come and put things right proved seriously tricky.
It took 12 days.
And we had to phone them.
Every day we were phoning them.
We were
12
constantly
days
chasing them
it took
for an update and stuff, and they were doing nothing about it to help us out.
Alan and Chris have now bought a new boiler at a cost of £2,000, which they believe the boiler breakdown company should cover. Martyn isn't impressed.
So I'm going to use a technical term here, and I hope it doesn't get too complicated, but this is what we call in the trade a rubbish contract.
Martyn believes that the contract Alan and Chris signed up to could be classed as an insurance product, in which case there's another place for them to take their complaint.
Now, it may well be that the Free Financial Ombudsman Service is willing to have a look at your complaint, and they have the power to enforce a decision if they feel you've been treated badly.
Well, since filming, Martyn decided to get in touch with the company himself to see if it would look again at Alan and Chris's case. And I'm pleased to say that it agreed to do a gesture of goodwill to refund them £300. When it comes to getting a problem sorted, one of the most effective things you can do these days is take to social media. A post there quite often catches the eye of a company long before they've had a chance to answer your email. And importantly, it can also put you in touch with other disgruntled customers. In fact, it's now so effective that it seems that some companies are going to extraordinary lengths to get negative comments removed. So, are some of the most trusted names around really trying to hush us up? You love them. Big companies hate them. When a bunch of you with complaints about the same firm set up a social media group to share your frustrations and your advice. Which is exactly what Kay Wayman was looking for when she came across a Facebook group for unhappy customers of builder Persimmon Homes. He'd had major issues with the brand new home in North Walsham, Norfolk, that she'd bought from the company.
Probably about within the first week we noticed problems within our property. We had power cuts, we had flooding, and we noticed that we didn't have any vents in our roof for our extractor fans. We paid for the home to be fully finished, so to have issues was very stressful.
One power cut to the property left the family without electricity for 10 hours.
On speaking to the developer's staff, found out that we were on generators with our electricity, which we weren't told before we moved in. And it was turning out that the generator had failed and then the backup system on the generator had failed.
While Kay accepts there will always be snagging issues when moving into any brand new house, she believes Persimmon's response to her complaint just was not up to scratch, especially given the fact that the company had already delayed their moving in date 4 times.
Speaking to the developer about our issues, they were a bit hit and miss. It was a long process to get anyone to listen to us about them.
Persimmon has found itself under fire in recent years. It's faced complaints about poor construction along with its former boss's vast pay packet, though it's perhaps no surprise that an online complaints group was created. Originally called Persimmon Homes Unhappy Customers, it was used by thousands of people to detail their grievances and publish pictures of what they believed were examples of shoddy workmanship, which was how Kay found her way to it.
just decided to search on Facebook one day to see if there's any persimmon groups, and I came across one and joined it just to see if anyone else was going through similar issues.
Kay says she was soon coming across dozens of persimmon customers across the UK having similar problems to her own.
It was a large group, it had a lot of followers, and there were posts ranging from people's awful brickwork to not being able to contact anyone. People were posting similar things to myself.
As well as helping point frustrated customers like herself in the right direction, the group proved a useful tool in swapping practical information to help fix things, something which Kay says was a great help at a difficult time.
It was without a doubt the most stressful experience of my life, as well as my husband's. I think the group was a brilliant platform to know that you weren't going through it alone as well.
But around 8 months after she'd joined the group, a couple of odd things suddenly happened to it.
I first noticed the issue with the group when I had 2 notifications come through. One, that the name had changed, and another that the group had gone from public to secret, which was a bit concerning as to why it would need to, because it had been public for as long as I'd been within the group, which had been months and months.
When a group's settings are switched to secret, it's only visible to people that are already members, so it no longer comes up in searches like the one that had helped Kay find it in the first place. To Kay, it was all something of a mystery.
I had absolutely no idea what was going on. I went onto the page to see if anything had been said, and that's when I started seeing posts about what had happened, and saw the post that Persimmon had put up themselves explaining why it had been done.
Persimmon's post said it had taken over the administration of the group and had changed its name to Persimmon Homes Customer Care. It explained it took control of the page to combat misinformation, claiming that many people posting on it were not real customers.
And my initial reaction was, I think they'd done it to control what was being posted and what was being said and what they wanted people to see.
Kay says she was then removed from the group by Persimmon, as were many other former members. It seemed to her that the company had taken over the site purely to silence a source of very public complaints. Following the company's intervention, membership shrank from about 14,000 to about 3,100 today. Not only that, but any members who discussed setting up a new group free of the company's control soon found their comments deleted.
I was a bit angry about it. It was very clear to a lot of us at the time that it was done to try and quiet us, so we weren't going to be heard, and we weren't even allowed to share the details of the new group for people who still wanted to be a part of it.
She believes that if the company was serious about helping its customers, getting involved in the discussion group in this way has been counterproductive.
I think what they were doing was incredibly underhand, and they had a very public platform to show and prove that they would be willing to help, willing to listen and willing to resolve, and they took that and decided to do the complete opposite and quiet us and remove us, block us, delete us, and all the complaints that went along with it.
In order to take over the group, Persimmon would have had to convince the Facebook group's administrator to allow that. So far, it's refused to comment on what was agreed with the administrator to enable it to take over the running of the group. But when we spoke to Persimmon, it told us that it took control of the Facebook group not to shut it down, but because after monitoring it for several months, it had become uncomfortable with the tone, language and misinformation posted, as well as what it called evidence of bullying behaviour, reiterating its claim that most people using it were not Persimmon customers. The company says that taking over the administration allowed it to contact the genuine Persimmon customers in the group directly and ensure that it could address their customer care issues. It stressed it had made the group private to protect genuine customers' privacy and apologised if a genuine customer has been mistakenly removed from the page. It added that it has been in touch with Kay to help resolve her issues and set up a free phone number for all members of the group to have their issues addressed directly. Whether or not Persimmon's actions with this group were fair, or simply an attempt to silence voices it was unhappy with, Martyn James from complaints website Resolver worries that companies are increasingly looking to stifle these sorts of online discussion.
I'm really concerned that some businesses have been using their power and influence to actually get groups shut down. I think it's totally unacceptable in this day and age that something that's supposed to be a free forum for people to talk about their concerns can actually be taken out simply because a company doesn't like what it's hearing. The fact of the matter is, though, good customer service does not involve repressing people criticising an organisation, and you should be able to express those opinions with complete freedom and impunity.
Someone who's become a major advocate for online discussion groups of this nature is Kate Anstey. She set up one of her own after long-term issues commuting on Northern Rail trains that peaked after the rail company implemented extensive timetable changes in 2018.
The trains were often delayed, cancelled. If they did turn up, they were very crowded. You arrived at work feeling really stressed and often late, and you had to endure the same coming home.
Kate says her regular social media complaints and questions about Northern Rail often went unanswered or were brushed aside with a standard response. So, determined to have her voice heard, Kate went online and created a Facebook group aimed at making the train operator sit up and pay attention.
The group was named Northern Rail Ruining People's Lives on a Daily Basis. To have a collective voice when you're tackling big business and big organisations, I think that's really, really important.
The Facebook group started with around 80 members, but has since grown to nearly 4,000, and it's now called Northern Resist. The group allows travellers to share their experiences, get advice, and importantly, offers real-time updates on delays and cancellations.
It's incredibly informative, and it's a hub of information that people now rely on more than they rely on Northern's communications through the apps and through the website.
Well, Northern Rail said it encourages its customers to interact on social media, pointing out it's the perfect way to quickly raise concerns and get quick answers. It apologised for the unacceptable disruption that followed the May 2018 timetable changes, adding that it was caused by delays in infrastructure projects outside of its control. It insisted it's absolutely committed to giving customers the best possible rail service and is working hard to improve its performance and reliability. For Kate, to prevent groups such as hers being derailed, she says it's crucial that they stay under control of the customers.
I'm an admin of that group, but that group belongs to every single person that's involved. I would never sell out. That would be fundamentally against my principles and my values because of what I believe to be important.
As for Kay, she's now volunteered to be an administrator for a new counter-group of disgruntled Persimmon customers. And she remains adamant that people should be able to voice their grievances online without any interference from the companies themselves.
I don't feel we should be silenced. You know, it's our biggest investment that we're ever going to make. Why shouldn't we have a platform we can use to freely express how we feel and about our concerns about it?
Rip Off Britain wouldn't be here without your stories, and we've got plenty of ways you can get in touch with us. Send us an email to ripoffbritain@bbc.co.uk, or you can write to us at Rip Off Britain, BBC Dockhouse, Media City UK, Salford, M50 2LH. But please, please do not send original documents. And even if you haven't got a story you'd like us to investigate, you can join in with the conversation on our Facebook page. Just search BBC Rip Off Britain. Well, I'm afraid that's all we have time for today, but, you know, I'm still trying to get my head around Gemma's situation. After going through that frightening tumble-dry fire, which on its own must have been so traumatic, to then find herself being asked not to speak out, well, I think it's atrocious. I just don't think it's right.
Well, good for her for not keeping quiet. But, you know, it's so frustrating when companies don't handle your complaints well, because it makes all the difference when they deal with them properly, not least because it makes it more likely you'll want to do business with them again in the future.
Well, if you've got any issues that you think we should know about, then please do get in touch, because the team here really does read all of your emails and letters. And if we think we can help get your complaint sorted out, or at least nudge it in the right direction, then it may well be among the ones that we investigate next time. But for now, thanks for your company, and we will see you again very soon. But until then, from all of us, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.